Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moden.
And I'm Antonita Collins. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, the impeachment showdown.
House Democrats are holding another hearing today to present the case for impeaching President Trump. They're looking to show the president abused his power and betrayed national security using a foreign power. A committee vote on articles of impeachment is expected this week. Our coverage on ABC News Live begins at 8:30 Eastern Time this morning. Number 2, the death toll is rising after a volcano erupted at a popular tourist destination in New Zealand.
At least 5 people are dead and dozens are missing. Volcano experts are warning rescue crews to stay away, fearing another eruption. Tourists were seen walking inside the rim of the White Island volcano just before it blew.
This video was taken by an American from San Francisco. The volcano is New Zealand's most active, and it had been showing increased activity recently. On to number 3, police are on special alert today in Hong Kong amid calls for a general strike.
Overnight, protesters wrapped up the largest demonstration in months with a sea of lights, flashes from their cell phones. The demonstration marks 6 months since the pro-democracy protest began. The march was largely peaceful, with few reports of violence. We head to California for number 4, where an animal conservation activist is recovering after she was injured by the tiger at her park.
Patty Perry went into their cage at the sanctuary. She found it near Los Angeles during an event for donors. A spokesperson says she does that nearly every day, but this time, the big cat's got a little too playful.
They began to play with her, and the Bengal took both of his paws and wrapped around her legs, and she fell down. Another one jumped on her and began to pull on her before they got her out and caused some lacerations.
Luckily, the guest included a group of firefighters who helped Perry after the attack. And finally, number 5, Steve Harvey at the Miss Universe pageant. Yes, it happened again.
Harvey was hosting the competition last night when he announced the winner of the costume contest. That's when things went wrong. Harvey said the wrong winner and was quick to shift the blame.
Here's a look at the winner, Philippines. This is it right here.
It's not Philippines, it's Malaysia.
Okay, well, let me explain something to you. I just read that in the teleprompter. Y'all gonna quit doing this to me. I can read, it said now, they trying to fix it now. See, this is what they did to me back in 2015.
In 2015, Harvey announced Miss Colombia was the pageant winner when it was really Miss Philippines.
As for this year's winner, it was Miss South Africa, Zosie Abina Tunzi. She said the most important thing about being taught to young girls is leadership, and she called women the most powerful beings in the world. Miss Puerto Rico was the runner-up. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to It's Morning America. And I'm pretty sure you already know this woman to my left here, Toni Collins from our sister network, ESPN.
Yay, here with you
Welcome.
guys.
So,
Thank you.
ESPN, so you must really love some sports.
I do. Go Steelers.
Where does it go? What does it go back to?
It goes back to, I played for the Mexican national women's team in soccer, under 19. And it goes from that. I mean, I loved it, and it was the most amazing experience, and hence why I do sports.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you do a great job over
Thank
at ESPN. I watch some clips because I don't sit around just
I
watching.
stalk you too, don't worry.
Watching ESPN because I know nothing about sports, but by watching you, I know a little bit more.
Aw, I paid him to say
But
that.
you're over here on the news side, over here at
yes,
ABC.
and now he's teaching me.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of news to
Okay.
get to for It's Morning America. That big story, the fast-moving push to impeach President Trump. Another public hearing is set for today with House Democrats poised to make their case to kick President Trump out of office. The president is refusing to participate, but the Democrats worked through the weekend, rapidly moving to drop articles of impeachment. ABC's Serena Marshall joins us from Washington. Serena, good morning.
Kenneth, Tony, good morning to both of you. We expect Democrats to introduce charges against the president later this morning that's likely going to include obstruction of justice and abuse of power. Now, later this week, we do expect those articles of impeachment to be drafted and potentially voted on.
The second official impeachment hearing underway this morning, and this time it's the lawyers testifying before Congress.
We're in the process now of focusing that into something that holds them accountable.
Democrats working through the weekend as lawyers from both parties, from both the Judiciary and Intelligence Committees, will present the findings of their investigations. And Democrats say theirs shows a rock-solid case.
I think the case we have, if presented to a jury, would be a guilty verdict in about 3 minutes flat.
Not participating, though, the president's team, even as his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, spent the past week in Ukraine, something even Republicans were uncomfortable with.
But it is weird that he's over there.
I think he wants to go before Congress and say, and also to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice, I hear he's found plenty.
Some Democrats pointing to that as a reason to continue their breakneck pace.
Are you moving too quickly? That would be a valid concern if the president wasn't moving quickly to have his lawyer go over to Ukraine and continue to cheat our elections.
The president, meanwhile, continues to call the whole thing a sham.
We had a perfect conversation.
Even as he took to Twitter Sunday, firing off nearly 100 tweets and retweets in just one day, most targeting Democrats and the inquiry, as Republicans remain united behind him.
There are no hearings currently scheduled for later this week after today's, but we do expect the chair of the Judiciary Committee to introduce those articles of impeachment in the coming days. Kenneth, Tony.
All right, Senator Marshall, thank you. We appreciate it.
Now to the other big story this morning, the deadly shooting spree at a Florida Navy base that's now being investigated as an act of terrorism.
Authorities are focusing on motive and if the Saudi airmen acted alone or was part of a larger network. Meanwhile, Saudi authorities are reportedly trying to determine if the suspect was radicalized during a trip back home late last year. ABC's Trevor Ault has more.
Hundreds of federal agents continue to investigate Friday's deadly shooting at Naval Air Station Pensacola, which the FBI now presumes was an act of terror.
I know that the community is safe and there's not any sort of immediate direct threat of any additional terrorist acts at this time.
The suspected shooter, Mohammed al-Shamrani, a second lieutenant in the Royal Saudi Air Force, was in the U.S. as part of a pilot training program.
You have foreign military personnel coming to our base. They should not be doing that if they hate our country.
The gunman's Saudi classmates are being kept on base and are cooperating with questioning. Sources telling ABC News investigators are looking into claims by al-Shamrani's classmates that he watched mass shooting videos at his home days before the attack.
Members of the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force are working tirelessly to discern, if any, possible ideology that may have been a factor in this attack.
The FBI is now carefully reviewing surveillance images and cell phone video taken immediately after the rampage as families mourn the loss of 3 young lives: 23-year-old Ensign Joshua Watson, 19-year-old Airman Mohammed Sameh Haitham, and 21-year-old Airman Apprentice Cameron Walters. Members of the community lining up to pay respects during a solemn procession returning the fallen to the Naval Air Station.
I urge anyone who feels they need a little extra support to reach out and get the help they need.
The 2 officers injured when they heroically confronted the gunman are now recovering. Trevor Ault, ABC News, New York.
And the FBI says the gun was purchased legally in Florida. Normally, it's illegal for non-U.S. citizens to obtain a gun. However, there's a federal law that allows official representatives from certain foreign governments like Saudi Arabia to obtain a gun.
The California man accused of planning a mass shooting is due in court today. Investigators say Steve Homoki filmed and posted chilling videos on YouTube in which he appeared to be rehearsing a terror attack. The videos show a man pointing assault weapons at people from a hotel window in downtown San Diego. A tipster led police to Homoki, saying he had a plan in place.
You take every tip seriously because you just don't know if it's going to be a real shooter or not. You're talking about shooting out of a window down on people below, which is exactly what happened in Las Vegas. And so that's why it's so alarming.
Charges against him include possession of an assault weapon. Homoki told a local TV station that the videos were a miniature art project.
Firefighters in Australia's New South Wales are preparing for another tough week.
Yeah, temperatures are soaring there and conditions
Wow.
are expected to be even worse tomorrow. Kenneth, nearly 90 fires are burning and about half of them are uncontained.
You see a fire tornado in that video there. At least 6 people have died and nearly 700 homes have been destroyed since the fires began.
A skier is dead after an avalanche in Colorado.
Yeah, investigators say a 29-year-old woman was buried under 2 to 3 feet of snow on a mountain about 70 miles north of Denver near Cameron Pass. The death is the first caused by an avalanche in Colorado this season.
A nativity scene displayed by a Methodist church is stirring up controversy. It's been put on display in Claremont, about 30 miles east of Los Angeles. It shows Jesus, Mary, and Joseph as refugees in cages. The lead pastor says the Holy Family is standing in for families separated at the border by administration policies. She says her church often uses its nativity scene to address social issues.
Fans and celebrities are mourning the shocking and sudden death of 21-year-old rapper JUICE WRLD. The artist, whose real name was Jared Higgins, died Sunday morning after reportedly suffering cardiac arrest at a private hangar at Chicago's Midway Airport. His hit, Lucid Dreams, has been streamed a billion times, and made him a star. JUICE WRLD collaborated with fellow rappers Travis Scott and Lil Yachty and toured with Nicki Minaj. His label says to lose someone so kind and so close to our hearts is devastating.
Now in lighter news, Red Sox legend David Ortiz has returned to his native Dominican Republic. It was Big Papi's first public appearance there since he was shot nearly 6 months ago. Ortiz was greeted with cheers and standing ovation at a charity baseball exhibition.
It was so good to see Big Papi back there, back home. Obviously, we know that he was flown back here stateside here in the U.S. after that shooting. And they love him there, and I'm pretty sure it was so good for those residents of Puerto Rico.
Look at
I'm sorry, of Dominican Republic to see him back there. I'm pretty sure people in PR as well. They like seeing him.
He's
all over the place.
Yep. All right, coming up, what happened to the $120,000 banana? Was it the victim of an art or an art crime?
Okay, but first, the volcanic eruption in New Zealand. Will go across the pond for the latest after this. Welcome back. Now to some breaking news overnight. At least one person is dead after a volcano erupted on a New Zealand island popular with tourists, and officials warn that number is likely to rise. Let's go across the pond to Julia McFarland in the London Bureau for more. Julia, good morning. What's the latest there?
Kenneth. Morning. Well, we've actually just heard from the police deputy commissioner there in New Zealand, and he has actually said that there are now at least 5 people known to have died in that eruption. And something that is very, very concerning is that ash is still falling from the volcano, and that is hampering any efforts to try and get to the area. So police were asked if there were any more people on White Island, if they knew of anyone in the vicinity, and they couldn't answer that question. They said, we just do not know. The conditions are too hazardous with that falling ash there for the moment. But there is believed to be a tour group that were near White Island at the time, a group of less than 50 people, more than 24 Australians believed to be among the group. But also the police deputy commissioner said that several people had been treated with burn injuries and that a number were being treated at the hospital. Now, White Island, it is a totally uninhabited island, but it is very, very popular with tourists. And interestingly, there was a local geological monitoring site that said a few days ago that they had recorded heightened volcanic activity at the island, but they said that the current levels did not constitute any kind of risk to tourists at that time. That's the thing to know about this, is that it came really, really out of the blue. The volcano at White Island, it is billed as a top tourist destination. It is an active volcano, but this eruption was really out of the blue and really violent and was completely unexpected. And because it's such a big tourist destination, it is frequently visited by many tour groups, a lot of tour groups operating day trips to the island. So it's a huge, huge amount of concern for New Zealand and for their tourism industry.
Yeah, the images are shocking from those videos. Julia, let's move on to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, which has taken center stage in the impeachment inquiry due to that military aid to Ukraine that was withheld. Well, now the two countries' leaders are meeting to hold major peace talks. Is there any hope for an end to this war?
Exactly, Tony. This is a full-scale conflict. It's something that's been going on for the last 5.5 years. 13,000 people have died over the last few years there in eastern Ukraine. And that new president of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelenskly, he was elected on a campaign promise to bring that conflict to an end. Now, he is going to be meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin for the first time in Paris for these talks. The leaders of France and Germany are also going to be there, and they're going to hope to help both sides thrash out the negotiating details. Now, a few years ago in 2014, both parties signed the Minsk agreement that involved some concessions on either side, but since then they've been squabbling on the process of how they're going to implement those demands from either side. So that's what they're hoping to agree on today, some kind of process for how they are going to end at a final settlement, something involving local elections and some special autonomy for certain parts of eastern Ukraine. But there is a huge amount of pressure on Volodymyr Zelensky. Of course, he has promised to bring peace to eastern Ukraine. But yesterday, on Sunday, there were thousands of protesters in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. They were very, very angry about any possible concessions that the Ukrainians might make to the Russians. People were holding signs saying no capitulation.
And Julie, we understand there's a new leader in Finland. They've got a new prime minister. And before you okay boomer me, I hear that she's young.
I wasn't going to okay boomer you, Kenneth. Come on now. I was going to say, who run the world? Girls in Finland. Now, this is really, really interesting because Sanna Marin, she is 34 years old. How does that make you feel about your state of life achievements? Let's not go there. But she is now going to be the world's youngest prime minister. Jacinda Ardern, she was elected when she was 39, and the Ukrainian president, Alexei Honcharuk, he's 35 years old. But what's really interesting about in Finland is Sanna Marin, she was a transportation minister when her party chose her to succeed the current prime minister when she stepped down earlier last week. She is also going to be head of a coalition government of parties all run by 5 women. It is going to be a centre-left coalition government. Really, really interesting stuff. And very interesting details about Sanna Marin. I think we can expect big things from her. She was raised by a single mother, and she was the first person in her family to go to university. So clearly she is a woman with a lot of drive who's just getting started.
Is there an age requirement for prime minister? Because I'm thinking about here, 35 is the threshold for our constitutional requirements and whatnot.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure, but it is the other members of the leaders of the party in this coalition. They're all quite young. In between, some of them are a similar age, in between their 30s to their 40s. But you know, one thing I just want to point out, that Finland consistently is top of all league tables of qualities of life, and you know, as a country completely run by women, I think we can take something from that. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Love it.
Are you finished now? Okay. So
I'm done.
I get it.
Let's continue that thread tomorrow.
Julia, meet Tony.
Yeah.
Tony,
Hi,
meet
Julia.
Julia.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Julia, do you know anything about our sister network, ESPN?
ESPN, of course. They're just down the road from us, down the corridor from us here in London.
Alexis Nunes works actually for me with you guys.
Oh, see, that's the thing.
Roommate, yeah.
That's the thing is, like, we all share like a lot of office space
absolutely.
and buildings, so that a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, so you guys got a lot of ESPN people over there.
I like calling shared office space, calling us roommates. That's a nicer way to put it.
There it is. There it is.
Share the love, one family.
All right, Julie. It's good to see you,
nice
friend.
Nice to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you.
Take care. Bye.
Hey, let's check our notifications now, starting with the world's most famous piece of fruit turned into a meal at a Florida art gallery. A banana duct taped into a wall at Art Basel, Miami, was eaten during yesterday's final day of the exhibit. A performance artist from New York City grabbed it, ate it, then bragged about the move on Instagram in a post titled "Hungry Artist." He posted, "Art performance by me. I really love this installation. It's very delicious." I just want to know, after that many days of being on the wall, it was a little brown.
Yeah. Do you eat brown bananas?
I still will eat some brown bananas. Yeah, especially if you can chop them up and put them in some banana pudding. Banana pudding.
But imagine if that banana was not a banana and it was a jalapeno. It would be a different story this morning.
A completely different story. But that is our question of the day. Is this art or destruction of valuable property?
Tell us what you think in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live.
And Christmas trees in New York City are almost as expensive as that banana, one going for as much as $6,500 in Soho. That's because apparently these Fraser fir trees are very limited, which means the price goes up, you know, supply and demand. So I guess someone's paying $6,500.
What would you buy with $6,500 besides a Christmas tree?
A lot more than a Christmas tree. I know that much.
Man, but I guess, hey, to each person, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Some of us are in the Christmas spirit too. Others are just staring into the void. But I'm talking about animals as well. Look at these doggies.
Look, they're like.
One of them hates life in these pictures.
He's like, no, I don't want this picture. Why are you doing this to me?
I will pee in your house now. And then the other one's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they gave him a tree to pee on, so there you go.
Can we say peon?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can.
okay.
There's a lot here that we say. Welcome to It's Morning America, Tony.
Thank you.
What else we got?
Well, next we have a development coming out of the current controversy surrounding the so-called Peloton husband.
Yes, now the Peloton wife is breaking her silence. In a statement, actress Monica Ruiz says she's, quote, shocked and overwhelmed by the attention the ad has generated on social media, especially the negative.
In the meantime, the stationary bike ad has catapulted her into another major gig, a commercial spot with Ryan Reynolds Aviation Gin. That ad actually continues the story of the Peloton wife without actually really acknowledging it, but yeah.
She's gonna have
Quick on
gin
that.
and then go work out.
It doesn't work out anymore.
Hey, and an airline crew stepped in to help a couple after a wedding mishap. Kim and Luis. You think it's Louis or Luis? I think it's Louis.
Luis.
Let's go with Luis. He eloped 20 years ago with Kim. They took a trip to the Dominican Republic to have a religious celebration.
Unfortunately, their friend, who performed their ceremony, forgot to have them sign the marriage certificate. So the crew on their Southwest Airlines flight performed their vows on the plane home. And if you were a passenger, you were drinking because they gave all the passengers champagne.
So much fun. I like it, love it. And moving on now to some really sad passing to note in the world of Sesame Street. The world is remembering a childhood favorite, the man behind Big Bird, for 50 years.
Yeah, legendary Sesame Street puppeteer Carol Spinney has died. Spinney, who also brought us Oscar the Grouch, referred to himself as the most unknown famous person in America after entertaining and educating generations of children. ABC's Will Gans has more.
Who's the fellow who's all yellow? Who?
He's 8 feet 2 inches of pure, sunny yellow happiness. And Carol Spinney, the beating heart that brought Big Bird to life. Spinney has been underneath those 4,000 feathers since Sesame Street's first episode in 1969, when Big Bird looked like this.
I'm a bird. Birds are big.
All eyes on that lovable giant canary, though the puppet itself had no eye holes at all for Spinney. Instead, he was able to see using a video monitor strapped to his chest. One of Spinney's arms operating the head, beak, and eyes.
I'm just about to see if I have any mail today.
The other operating the left wing and a string helping him operate the right. The actor has also been the voice behind Sesame Street's notorious grump, Oscar the Grouch, who was orange when he made his debut. Spinney says Oscar's voice was inspired by a cab driver he met on his way to a rehearsal.
Well, if you won't go away, I will.
Spinney also revealing he almost left Sesame Street in the first season. The actor worried he wasn't up to par with the rest of the cast. On his way to quit, he ran into the guy who built the Big Bird puppet, convincing him to give it another month. Spinney gave it another month and another 5 decades. Big Bird receiving a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, taking trips around the world.
This is the Great Wall of China.
Not bad for a flightless bird. And neither are Spinney's 5 Daytime Emmys and a Lifetime Achievement Award. He's been training his successor since the late 90s, but Matt Vogel didn't don the yellow feathers full-time until just last year. Vogel, whose last name means bird in German, paid homage to his late great mentor at Sunday's Kennedy Center honors, saying, "Carol taught me to keep an innocence and childlike quality alive, not only in Big Bird, but in myself. Thank you, Carol."
Our thanks to Will. And talk about timing. The rest of the cast of Sesame Street was in attendance at yesterday's Kennedy Center honors. They wore a yellow feather pinned to their suits in honor of their late friend and mentor. Big Bird, Sesame Street, Oscar the Grouch, all of those so iconic and so instrumental and important to children. So many lives around the world.
Completely, yeah. You say around the world. I mean, I grew up in Mexico, and I remember Sesame Street. And to think that he had so much impact on the world.
And that was the man behind it all. All right, well, coming up, we'll tell you what to watch out for as we start the week on this Monday.
Plus, the college football playoffs are set, so you're celebrating after this.
That guy definitely celebrating.
He is.
Here's what to watch out for today. The House Judiciary Committee will hold another hearing as Democrats present the case for impeaching President Trump. They're expected to focus on abuse of power and obstruction and drop articles of impeachment over the next few days. The hearing begins at 9 Eastern. Live coverage starts streaming at 8:30 right here on ABC News Live.
The Justice Department's internal report on the origins of the Russia investigation is coming out today. The Inspector General reportedly found the FBI had adequate basis for opening the probe, a rejection of President Trump's claim that it was a witch hunt. But the report is also expected to document errors by investigators. The Attorney General is overseeing a similar but separate criminal investigation.
President Trump is scheduled to have lunch with Vice President Mike Pence and hold a roundtable on school choice before hosting a Christmas reception at the White House.
Former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, will talk about her new book, With All Due Respect, Defending America with Grit and Grace, at the Richard Nixon Presidential Library.
And a Congressional Gold Medal celebration will honor the women who inspired the movie Hidden Figures, featuring former NASA engineer Christine Darden.
And finally, in sports, big time, college football's Final Four is all set.
Yes, it is.
Yep, LSU is #1 heading into the college football playoff. The Tigers will face 4th-ranked Oklahoma in the Peach Bowl December 28th in Atlanta. That night, #2 Ohio State plays 3rd-ranked defending champ Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. The winners will meet January 13th at the Superdome in New Orleans for the championship.
There it is, it's set. And check out Erica Ferrando reporting on fan reaction to LSU's win in the SEC championship game.
Erica was outside a bar in New Orleans, and it seems like the guy behind her right there. Horrible dance moves, pestering, but he had a good time and apparently a long night.
So you cover a lot of sports.
And a lot of those people in the back, they love that.
They do. When you turn a light on at after a sporting event, or any news, but definitely after a sporting event where there's been a little bit of libations that have been consumed, this can happen.
Oh, he's
and
famous.
I actually am very jealous of you because you get to have all the analysis, commentary, and you're sometimes inside a studio or inside a very controlled environment.
Yeah.
Then the news people go and do fan reaction stories, and we have to deal with that. With the allegedly drunk people.
You gotta stiff arm them.
In Philly, I worked in Philly, and obviously, the fans are rabid there. Someone jumped on my back during a live shot.
You worked in Philly.
I worked in Philly. See?
They are out of control though. Out of control.
The moment I said it, she knew.
Yeah, you Philly fans are unique.
They really are.
Patriots fans too. Did you see what they did? They were booing Tom Brady, which the past 2 decades he's given them Super Bowls, really good runs. They just won a Super Bowl. They have 6.
Right.
They were booing them because they were losing.
No,
they didn't lose, but
they're like, Tom Brady's like, look what I gave you guys. Can I have a bad game, please?
So I think sports fans are a little bit more emotional, right?
Oh, I would definitely agree with that. I would. So it's been great to have Toni Collins here. And guess what? She's back tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for us on this Monday.
Look it up.
We'll see you tomorrow.